Next up, we've got Pauline Oliver, who not only just worked out, we met in 2008 when Pauline first moved out to Australia and was working for Chauntry. And we've worked on a whole heap of projects together over that time. Pauline's now at a company called Ideas, and we've done a little bit of work for Ideas as well, helped out. And we've been looking at ways of collaborating on all sorts of things, and I'm sure at some stage we will. But I'll get Pauline to come up to the stage and Ideas. I'll let Pauline explain Ideas a little bit more and what they're doing in this space. But obviously, AI and predictive analytics is something that Ideas have been doing for a long time, and especially in the hotel space, and obviously more recently in the parking space. Pauline, welcome everyone.
Thanks, Mostyn. And thanks to the Ubi Park team for inviting me here to Ubi Collaborate. I've been here 3 years in a trot, wouldn't miss it. I love it. I love seeing a lot of familiar faces in the audience and some new faces that hopefully we'll get to talk today. So as Mostyn says, I'm Pauline Oliver. My company is Ideas. My work involves really helping to map the cutting edge technology that my company creates around the areas of artificial intelligence, machine learning, predictive analytics, to real world business problems and how we might use that capability to solve problems. So when Mostyn asked me to come and talk about AI, I got a bit excited. Because like many of you, AI kind of dominates my world these days. I used it to figure out what time the train was this morning, how far I had to walk from Southern Cross to get to gate 4 and up to the meeting room today. I obviously depend on it to tell me what I need to watch next on Netflix. I'm sure I am not the only person in this room that is addicted to true crime and murder, at the same time as whether Simone Biles is going to win gold medals at the next Olympics. But then I thought, no, actually, what Mostyn wants to talk about is what Ideas does in the field of analytics. And really what we do is we think about ways in which we can help optimize the challenges that your business faces when it comes to understanding your customer and optimizing your revenue, your profitability, and really leveraging your data in order to do that. So that's what I'm going to talk about today, and I'm going to talk about how we do that in the field of parking. But before I do that, I really had to think about sort of going back in time a little bit. I don't know if anybody in the room knows who this chap is. Any guesses? Yeah. So Sana gave it away a little bit earlier. This is Alan Turing, and he's widely credited with being the first person to really pose that question: can computers think? Can they really think like human beings and really develop the tests that allowed us to think about starting to measure that? Think about it, that was more than 70 years ago that this chap was thinking about AI. Certainly his laptop looks a little bit like my Dell still does. But really, back then, AI was very much founded in rules and logic, and really applying that to how computers can think. It wasn't really until the 90s when machine learning came to the fore where we really started to see those AI capabilities take a huge leap forward, right? So we're talking sort of still 35 years ago, and that's really when my company Ideas was founded, and we immediately started to apply AI into the products that we built. Sana mentioned again, you know, when you get to the 20s, we start to look at things like deep learning and neural networks and how that is applied into products. So that's exactly what Ideas does. Looks a little bit different today. So when we think about AI, certainly in terms of what my company does, there's a lot of data, right? If you think about up here in the orange zone, that is really where most of us sits in business, right? We've got a lot of questions that we need answered every day. We've got a lot of data that we need to understand. It's spread around. There's problems, and we really don't know the answers to a lot of the questions that we have, and that's coming at us at high speed. So what Ideas does is we have essentially what I would describe as optimization engines. So we have the ability to take and ingest all of that data from many different data realms, make sense of that data, organize that data, and really help solve problems. And you see down the bottom here some of the capabilities that we bring to the market are things like forecasting. We're able to predict the future. We're able to segment data. We're able to look at your inventory, organize that, and think about how best would we manage that inventory. And we look at things like profit optimization. And we do that by mathematically modeling the real world inside digital twins. Essentially, we take the real world, model it in mathematics, predict the future, and then look at different scenarios and different outcomes that might be aligned with where you want to be. We're a company that is about 600 people. We're part of a larger organization. The vast majority of people in my company are very, very clever data scientists and mathematicians. I am not, so do not ask me any mathematical questions. But the customers that we work for, Mostyn alluded to it, we are very big in the travel and hospitality space. We've got about 30,000 individual customers using our solutions to optimize their individual businesses. We work with, in the field of parking, we're predominantly in airport parking, so we work with airports around the world, airports like Melbourne and Sydney, Auckland Airport, Heathrow Airport in the UK, and JFK in the US. There's quite a few airports now understand the power of driving their commercial performance through using tools that can support them. So really, to bring it back down to my level, rather than in the world of mathematics and analytics, I wanted to really use the analogy of a racing car, because revenue management and the power of AI when it comes to driving your commercial performance is really about getting behind the wheel of a Formula One car. It's about using the tools that are really fine-tuned to getting you to where you want to be with absolute precision. And those precision points are what makes the incremental difference in commercial performance. So in terms of technology's impact on revenue, it's really, it's a journey, right? And it's a journey that is an evolution, and it involves a lot of moving parts. We start with the area of big data and business intelligence, right? It's really important to understand where you're at and ground yourself in the information that you have. That's critical for any business. And then you think about machine learning and automation. How can you move forward from that, and how can you do something that is a bit better today based on the information that you have? A lot of that machine learning is founded in rules-based algorithms. I see that a lot, especially when it comes to revenue decisions, right? There's a lot of systems out there that will help you make decisions and help, especially parking businesses, right, think about their their occupancy, their inventory, and their pricing using rules. So when the car park is 50% full, change the price up by $1 or whatever. And that makes a difference, right? It makes an impact and it improves things. But where you want to think about going next is the application of AI and how that can really supercharge your performance. So in terms of ideas, Sana talked a lot this morning about language processing and large language models. Where ideas is centered is really in statistical AI. So we use deep learning, machine learning, and advanced analytics to really understand the world and predict the future. And what that looks like for our customers is precision forecasting, the confidence to look into the future with the information at their fingertips, and also scenario planning and optimization using that information. So I'm gonna really sort of bring it down to what that means in the real world. So revenue management is a terminology that is widely used in my organization. It's really the space where you think about using data-driven tactics and strategies to optimize your product availability, your price, and your profitability to really achieve the highest possible revenue growth. And I'm sure you'll have seen this time and time again. It's about the right product at the right price, through the right channel, to the right customer at the right time. You master that and you're cooking with gas, as they say in Scotland. So that's really what we're all about, is ensuring that our clients can achieve that. So I thought I'd have a go at a little bit of science. So you're going to have to bear with me here, because as I say, I am not a scientist. But this is a little bit of a challenge that I think we can all buy into. And this is really an illustration of how we might think about the path to optimization. So I've got a car park, right? It's got 100 spaces. We need to keep the numbers pretty simple for me, right? So the car park's got 100 spaces, and I want to talk about the relationship between demand and price, right? So if the car park's free, I'm going to fill 100 spaces, right? Presuming it's in a good location, right? It's a nice car park. Everybody's going to want to park in it because it's free. If it's $100 a space, nobody wants to park in it, right? It's too much. No demand whatsoever. So we look at some prices in between, right? So we look at, if it's $40, we're going to have 60 people want to park in the car park. That's going to make me $2,400. On the other hand, if it's $60, less people are going to want to park, but I'm charging more. I'm going to make the same amount of money, right? 40 people come in at $60. I'm going to make $2,400. So we see that relationship between demand and price. And then we look at revenue, right? The revenue curve is a bell curve, and we see that quite naturally when the price goes up, the revenue goes up, and then ultimately it starts to come down because we've got less demand. So I'm going to throw it out to the audience. How much am I going to charge? What's my best price for this car park? $50. Get it right away. If I charge $50, I'm going to make a lot more money, right? The demand's going to be at $50. So I'm going to make $2,500. So I'm going to see an uplift in my revenue of about 4%, which is fantastic. But let's say this. Let's say we sell 40 spaces at $60, and then we sell the rest at $50. What does the revenue start to look like then when we have different price points, when we can think about segmenting that customer and isolating that demand and serving different customer needs with different price points? Now, everybody in this room knows it's not as simple as that. It's not as simple as setting and forgetting a price. These dynamics are moving constantly, time and time again, and you've got lots of other external factors influencing your price. So it's really complex, right? You've got what happened before. What happened in the past is going to influence what happens in the future. But my competition, what are they charging? I need to think about that as well, because if it's cheaper to park next door, I can have my price at $60. Oh, and let's not forget Harry Styles just announced his concert at the Marvel Stadium. So that's gonna cause a wee bit of a boost in demand. And I've got my contract parkers as well. Actually, I need to make sure I've got enough space for them. I can't have them being turned away. And then what happens if people want to stay longer and some people want to stay shorter? What if my peak demand is in the middle of the day or in the middle of the week? How do I make sure that I've got space to serve that strong demand where I can charge a higher price? And what about the people that want to book a wee bit early and get their space booked in advance? I know that Mostyn sent out the information on this event, which was great, to say, you know, we can book ahead of time using the Marvel app and get our parking for, I think it was $5, but I came in on the train. But those people that want to book ahead of time, how do we incentivize that? I know Heck is another competitor has appeared and they're charging a different price. So we know that it's complex, right? And that's without even bringing into play the asset owners that are going to say, my car park's too empty. I want you to reduce the price and fill it up. So the complexity of decisions is something that really starts to beg for technology that can ingest that information and really help you sort of bring that into a place where you can start thinking strategically about how you make decisions for your product and your inventory. So as we think about that, everything that I've just talked about really is looking in the rearview mirror. It's about making decisions, looking back at the information that we already know, things that are true and we understand, which is great, right? But what we want to be doing is really thinking about the future. How do we think about the future when we don't know what's going to happen? And that's where this word for me is really important, right? The uncertainty of the future. How can we think about the decisions that we need to make when we don't know what's going to happen next, for sure? How can we move forward in a world confidently when we really don't know what's going to happen next? Nobody knows what's going to happen next. And that uncertainty is something that, you know, my company focuses on folding into the technologies that we have, the risk of certain scenarios playing out, how that risk might unfold, and how we can put a future view of the world in the hands of our users that helps them confidently assert their commercial strategies with a good, strong view of what that scenario might look like in the future. So AI really helps us shift gear a little bit. It helps us move from some of the lower gears into fifth gear. For any of us that are still manual, I've been automatic for many years, but I did learn to drive in a manual car. But AI really is there to help us think about, you know, how can we use that technology to really smooth the bends and go as fast as the information that we're getting, and really sort of take the curves with ease. This slide I like. I was really surprised when I started to explore these numbers inside my organization. My company, which is just one in a world of technology, makes about 18 billion decisions every single day on behalf of our clients that really helps those clients move forward quickly, make the decisions that they need made using AI and using our machine learning and our analytics. It was only back in 2019, if we can remember that far back pre-pandemic, it was 100 million decisions a day. It's growing exponentially, and it's going to keep growing faster and faster and bigger and bigger. And we really need the tools to support us as we move forward with the growth of information and the speed of data that is coming towards us. But it's important to remember that we're not alone in that, right? And that's where, you know, something like the world of AI can really underpin what you're trying to achieve. There are tools and technologies there that you can try to achieve. And you know, I think about the tools that we provide our clients with as really being that pit crew, right? It's about being at the forefront of where our clients are in making their decisions for their business, but giving them the specialised tools in every single area to help do that job around pricing and revenue management. And it's about partnerships as well, right? Mostyn mentioned that we've worked together countless times in the past. Revenue management is only able to deliver what it does for businesses because it gets fed data. Data is the absolute lifeblood of revenue management decision making. And having partners and technologies that can feed us parking data that is clean, reliable, well understood, is what allows our customers to then trust that data when it comes to making decisions about their revenue and their commercial strategies in the future. So really what we're about is taking that world of data, that world of information, and turning it into a world of intelligence for our customers. That's all we do day in, day out. We're data scientists and our mathematicians. So summing it up really, in terms of what we do, it's about thinking about how we can accurately forecast demand, so really understand what the demand for car park spaces is, given all of those different data points that might influence that car parking. We think about unconstrained demand, and that's a really important term, right? Because that's about thinking about what is the demand for this space, regardless of how many spaces I've got available. And when you can understand that unconstrained demand, you can start to apply optimization techniques and optimized pricing towards selling that space. We think about customers, right, and how we might segment them and really identify and isolate the price sensitivities of those different customer segments to ensure that we can optimize each and every price point that people buy at. And we use AI also to configure systems, and that's something that really saves time, saves energy, puts reliability into how systems are configured. What that means for commercial teams, the people that use revenue management technologies inside their business, is accuracy, right? It means that they can talk to their executive teams, talk to their business, talk to their stakeholders with confidence and accuracy around the information that they're sharing. It gives them advanced insights. It gives them a lot of information about what might be happening, what is likely to happen in the future, and it automates a lot of the mundane tasks that commercial operators really need to do when it comes to inventory management and pricing. And this is, you know, one of the biggest competitors my company has is Microsoft Excel. People use that to, you know, it starts off as a simple table and it grows tabs and it grows macros, and before you know it, somebody has got a red hot solution in Microsoft Excel, but only they know how to work it, and it's quite easy to break. So moving from Microsoft Excel to using a revenue management tool is really very, very common for our customers. But one of the most important things that I see when people switch from using Microsoft Excel to using a revenue management tool is that ability to communicate, right? It's about giving commercial leaders the tools to be able to share and collaborate cross-departmentally, to talk about what's happening, why they think it's going to happen, what they think is going to happen next, and the strategies that they want to put in place, to put that in a way that everybody in the business can understand, collaborate and connect with. It really is game-changing for our customers. So as I get to the end of my slides, Sana made me laugh, actually, because she and I see things in exactly the same way. One, we're kind of at the start of this journey, right? Even although, 70 odd years ago, we were talking about AI and things have evolved a lot. We're all really still trying to find our position in the starting line. How do we get into this? What are the most important things that we can do to make the next step that's right for our personal lives and for our businesses? But the other really important thing is that we need humans in the loop. We need humans to steer AI. We need human strategies and human thinking to make sure that as we adopt these technologies and go forward, that we're taking things in the right direction, and the humans are really influencing what the AI does in terms of supporting where we wanna go. So we're in the driving seat, essentially. So that's the end of my slides. I've no idea how long I took. Sorry, Mawson, I'm not sure if it was 10 minutes or 30 minutes, but I mean, I'm Pauline Oliver. Mawson and I, we go way back. If you want to connect to me on LinkedIn, please feel free to do so. I love to meet new people at this event, and please, hopefully we can talk throughout the rest of the afternoon.
Great. Thank you very much, Pauline. We will do a few questions.
Thank you.
I'm going to keep one question for the operators panel. And I don't know if Daniel's just slipped out, but I was going to ask whether a flat rate or an hourly rate, casual rate, was the right way to go. But I might leave that for the operators panel. Is there any questions for Pauline? Pauline, I've got one.
Ooh, Daniel's got a question.
Oh, Daniel's got one?
Too late, Daniel.
I'm
No
going to ask
questions.
mine while I get to Daniel. Obviously, ideas have been focused on, say, bigger operations, airports, big campus, sort of stuff. Have you got anything in the pipe for maybe the other end of town?
Yes, is the answer to that, Mawson. So we started working with airport operators for parking, primarily because that was an area of the industry where pre-booking was predominant, right? So we have been providing price optimization for airports for more than 20 years. It's actually quite frightening when I say it like that for 20 years the airports have been using these tools to make decisions around how much inventory and what price people should buy parking at online. The challenge with taking that technology in the realm of smaller car parks is one around data and the quality of data, especially when they're small lots. And the other is how do we make it affordable, and what are the other operational constraints of moving price in a car park? Is it digital signboards, or can we do something that is relatively simple and still produce that sort of 5, 10, 15% revenue uplift by adjusting price? So I've been working for the last year or so on proof of concept work to see how we take the advanced analytics and the optimization engines and make that work in the real world for different types of parking operations.
Probably leads straight into my question now, Pauline. You say data is excellent to have in our systems and what you can use it and do with it, but where do you see, with the economic climates, everything that's going on, how do you use those data points to predict the future? because there's a lot of things happening at the moment, and it's great that you're saying you can see into the future and predict all these things.
Yeah.
But there's the big unknown at the moment that's sort of hanging over our heads, and where do you see that sitting in with your systems?
Well, in terms of the models, right, there's some basic information that the mathematical models use to predict the future, right? So they will look at the car park data, and it will look at some external data, right? So it might be competitor pricing, it might be flight arrivals, it might be the weather. There are lots of different sort of data feeds that you might say, actually, these are relevant to the forecast for this business. And then there's also the patterns that are inherent in the data, right? So the data will tell you whether people are coming less or coming more at the car parks. But there's also the continuous input to the system from the price points that are out there in the real world. So when the price shifts, people respond to that price, and that the system learns about that right away. So you need to have that feedback loop so that the system understands what the real world behaviour is like. Beyond that, we have a huge team of R&D scientists that are constantly looking at different data sets to say, does this improve my forecast model or not? Does it influence it in any way? And that might be anything at all, but anywhere we can get data, we've got a bunch of scientists that are looking at that, saying, does it change things if we fold this data in, or is the predictive model still the same, regardless of whether that's noisy data? But we can certainly have a chat about that today. It'd be great.
Got any other questions? Thank you very much, Pauline.
Thank
We
you.
like
Thanks,
these, really
everybody.
appreciate it.